Welcome to Story Comic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 410. I'm your host, Barney Smith of StoryComic.com. We're excited to have back with us the internationally acclaimed and talented comic creator of Plague Doctor Press, Mark Bell. Mark.
Hey, Barney, how you doing?
I'm doing well. So we mentioned before we started recording, this is your third time on the show, which makes you official moniker friend of the show of Story Comic.
Now, do I get a sash or a button or anything?
You do. You'll get a metal button. It's one of those nice heavy ones that actually kind of like if you're wearing a t-shirt, it kind of sags down a little bit because it's just heavy. It's just and then there's some pieces of like real silver and gold inside of it too. But yeah.
Okay, good.
And it will arrive. It'll arrive in one of those big black cases. Usually by courier. So, and we'll make sure there's a press release for it and everything.
I will keep my eye out for it. So.
Yeah. So this is exciting. You still have, you were on, I believe, was it last year or the year before, talking about Strange Ranger when that was.
I was on the first time talking about Strange Ranger 1, and then Spirit 1 to 3. Was the second time, and now we're on to Spirit number 2, Strange Ranger number 2.
I know.
Night of the Trollbadgers.
I love that title still. I remember telling you about that last time you were on. The term Strange Ranger flows off the tongue. There's something there that there's a poetry behind it. There's a visualness behind it. There is you pretty much are like enthralled by the storyline just by hearing the title of the book, Strange Ranger.
And you want to know who's the ranger. You want to know why they're strange right away.
Right. And so talk to us a little bit about this book and this Kickstarter then, Mark.
So I got to the end of lettering Strange Ranger 1. And down at the bottom of the last page, I created a little caption box like they have in 80s comics that I love. And I said, next time or next issue, I forget what it was, Night of the Trollbadgers. At this point in time, I only know what night is. I don't know what a Trollbadger is. I have no idea what the story is. I totally painted myself into a corner. So, that Kickstarter for Strange Ranger went over like gangbusters. I had such a good time with that. I had such a good time working on that book with Yonson. And at the end of the last year, he said that it was his favorite book to work on. I was just like, I've done something right. So then I was like, well, it's about time we did another Kickstarter. Now, last year, I did 2 Kickstarters. I did Strange Ranger 1 and Spirit 1 to 3. And I did them both within 100 days of each other. And I don't know if you could tell on the second recording, Barney, but I was a little burnt out. So I decided I was only going to do 1 Kickstarter this year. So I waited a while and did Strange Ranger 2, Night of the Trollbadgers. And then I was like, well, what am I going to do for Trollbadgers? Like, I like the idea of badgers, those sort of tenacious, cute, cuddly animals, right? But then I wanted them to have some sort of supernatural part to them. And I wanted them to be like a weird crossover of Ewoks, Gremlins, and Jack Black. And I wrote up this big description and sent it off to Yonson, and he came back with that Trollbadgers character design that you have on the screen right now. And I was like, awesome. Okay, you get it. They're chaotic, they're insanity, they're destructive, but they're not hurtful, right? They're not mean, but they might do mean things. Like, look at that one in the middle there, the little tiny one. You know he is up to no good. So then I was like, okay, well, now I got to write a story that takes the end of Strange Ranger 1 and expands it and expands Agatha's world and expands her friendships with Esme and Gord. And so, what to give you a little indication of what happens is Esme and Agatha go off to see an oracle at the start of the story, and they talk to this oracle about a missing child, and they come back to the park. But what Agatha didn't realize is that time moves differently at this oracle.
Mm.
So they've been gone 3 days, and the park is completely overrun by troll badgers, and Gord has been left on his own. So it's the I'm left alone with this out of control situation. So they try to attain what they need to do is work together as a team to uh, over overcome the troll badgers craziness, because it's getting out of hand.
And
And
so, do you?
I wanted it to be a fun book. I wanted it to be like not goofy, but I wanted it to be there's I mentioned to Yonson, I said, put in as many in jokes as you wanted to put in. And so that's the kind of thing that I want. If you scroll back up to, I have 3 covers. I have one from Yonson Carbonell, one from Melissa Caprione, the spirit artist, and one from Kaylin Smith, who's done some amazing work also. She sent me the picture of Kirk with all the tribbles, and this is essentially the same thing. There's all these troll badgers, and she's like, "Oh, I'm overrun by them," like Kirk was with the tribbles. Like, and that visual reference, that callback, is what I want to do with this issue. It's meant to be a threat, but not an existential threat, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, and not a scary threat. I want kids to be almost laughing at what the troll badgers did. Because remember, like, there were great moments in Gremlins and Gremlins 2 where we were laughing at what the Gremlins were doing. And then all
Right.
of a sudden we would be like, oh, okay, they've taken it too far.
Is there? Do people have to have read Strange Ranger issue number 1 to like this, or is this?
It's going to help you, but in the inside cover, there's going to be a little bit of an explanation as to what
Okay.
has happened before. I try to make all my books a complete story, so that if you read them out of order, it's not horrible. The best is to read them in order, but I want a kid to be able to pick up any book and start the story there.
Since you kind of, as you mentioned before, you made like kind of said Troll Badger. Does issue 2 leave off with next issue, and then did you just invent something?
Well, so the second issue, the first issue is spring, the second issue is summer, the third issue is fall, and I have an idea for it already. And then the fourth issue is winter, because there is a larger big bad that gets revealed at the end of issue 1, and this is the point where that big bad is growing in power to the point where it becomes a threat, and then everybody has to work together to overcome that.
As you mentioned, kind of a meta plot. Is this a finite series? Remind people, is this a finite series, or is this an ongoing series?
This is 4 issues, and that's what I've spec'd out so far. And Spirit is 5 issues. If I get, I'm not a young man. I know I want to do these 9 issues of comics because they'll also go together and really trade paperbacks really nicely. So what I want to do is at the end of those 9 comics be like, okay, do I want to do comics anymore? Because it's a difficult thing. It's difficult to run Kickstarters, but I got to tell you, I've had the level of fun has increased with each book. So I have a feeling that even though there's 4 issues planned in the first volume of Strange Ranger, that there might be more books after that. Certainly, I have no plans right now how I'm going to do the origin of Gord, and I know people have already asked me to do that. So that'll be a book in the future too.
So for those that are listening, can you describe Gord and also
So
describe Esme?
Gord, so the 3 main characters are Agatha, Esme, and Gord. Gord is a weremoose, and he appears as a man with a moose head, big antlers. He's kind of possessed in the first story for a little while, but then you realize he's big old lovable Gord. And so that character in particular, I sell more stickers, more people get off on that character. So I think that I'm probably going to get one of those big cutouts of Gord to put beside my table at cons, because Yonson did such a good job on him and making him both not menacing, but he's a big dude, but he's still approachable and fun, right?
And then Esme.
Esme is part of a race called the Zika, and they are a race of shapeshifters that have been in the forests for much longer than people. So they call humans strangers because to them they just got there. And not people in North America, people are strangers to them because they just got there. So they're a very ancient race of shape-shifting people that live in the forest in different places between the trees, I think I would say.
And so when you put this together, did you kind of already kind of create like a the world itself? So do you understand, like, do you as Mark, as the creator, do you have a what do you call it, kind of like a world building Bible already created, or are you here for the ride as well?
Kind of both. I have a couple of things, and we did a map that was a stretch goal for the first Kickstarter. So I have a map of the whole park that has all sorts of things on it, right? So I have that, and then all of those things, I kind of have a couple of story ideas, but I'm also like, there's stuff in issue 2 that's not on the map because it wouldn't be on the map. So it's kind of fun to do both those approaches. As the comic gets written, and I just have a few more pages left to finish off the story for issue 2, as it gets written, those things get codified more. And then I go back and do a draft that adds in little jokes, adds in little character bits, right? Because the first draft for me is all about this happens, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens, right? This causes this, and then this happens. So then I go back and add all that personality to the story.
Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. And thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. So talk to us a little bit about, as you mentioned, because you have your in your Kickstarter, you had some Melissa was the illustrator for Spirit, correct?
Yes. So she does a cover, which is cover B. So you can get Yonson's cover, which is cover A, Melissa's cover, which is cover B, or Kaylin Smith's which is cover C, or of course, you're more than welcome to buy all 3 covers of the same issue, and you get a little discount there. But I love variant covers, and it's a way to get to work with different people.
Mm,
I love working with Melissa, of course, who's the spirit artist, and I had really liked Smith's work, and I wanted to work with her. But it's like anything, you want to do a small job with people
right.
to see how they are to work with. Now, luckily, all the people I've worked with, including Kaylin, have been fantastic to work with. So I would not imagine it wouldn't be out of the realm to see me doing more work with her in the future.
So, and also say congratulations as of this recording, you are fully funded.
Yeah, I started 6 years ago with Plague Doctor Press, and if you had told me that I would have 5 successful Kickstarters, that one of my books would be in 3rd printing, one of my books would be in 2nd printing, and two of the other books are soon going to be in 2nd printing too, I would have been like, yeah, you're crazy, Barney. Like I cannot imagine the fact that I have thousands of books out, like hundreds of books in people's hands. I just had somebody message me today saying her little girl has one of the badges from Strange Ranger on one of her favorite blankets, and they read it like once a week.
Huh.
And I'm like, there we go. I'm doing something right. So, and like the last show I went to at the end of this year, I have no Spirit 2s right now except for what's in the archives.
Oh
Because of
wow.
course, whenever I get a new book, I take 5 right off the top, put them in the archives, right?
Right.
So I have those books, but I don't have any for sale. So when I do the next print run, I'm gonna have to do more Spirit 2s, uh, and Spirit 3 is almost done. So we're that'll next year is going to be a big print year for me, definitely.
Right. And so because your work is so accessible for say like a children in a way. I want to say like young children, but you're gearing these towards say like young adults or teens, preteens.
Yep. Like that means that I'll be able to go into bookstores, and like there's a local bookstore here who would love to carry my stuff, but they only carry trades.
Mm,
So as soon as I have a trade, they'll buy some from me.
okay.
And also that's what libraries take, right? So as soon as I have that, I'll be able to solicit out to libraries as well.
Is this like a shared world? Like the spirit characters, do they live in the same universe as Strange Ranger?
I gotta say that in Spirit 3, when they talk to the Sasquatch and they meet the Sasquatch family, they there's a throwaway line of "You should meet my friend Gord." Like it's all connected. So
Are they gonna actually like meet? Are you gonna have like
I,
a
I don't know
pinnacle
about that
issue?
yet. I don't know about that yet. But if I did, it would probably be like a Halloween issue, because I really like Halloween. I love giving comics out on Halloween. So I might try something like that. Or it would be a one off. It wouldn't be part of those stories. But for instance, in Strange Ranger 1, when Esme is showing how they can shape change, she changes into one of the spirit characters. So it's not on accident that those things happen.
And so I'm curious, how does Zed fit into this? Is Zed part of the same
Well,
universe?
so Zed really started like this, and this is what I've told people. When you start working on comics, everybody wants to start on their masterpiece first.
Right.
And that is not what you should do. So what I wanted to do was to do a comic that I wrote and lettered so I could get into understanding that work a lot better before I started doing it for Spirit, right?
Okay.
So when I announced that we were starting work on Spirit, I had already done Zed, which was 6-page web comics that were set in it was a sci-fi comic because I love sci-fi, about a group of women who are basically mercenaries, or they do positive things for hire,
Mm,
for and I wanted to hire artists and pay them and learn how to letter on that book so that when I got to Spirit #1, I was a much better letterer than if I had started lettering on Spirit 1, right?
okay.
So I did 8 issues of that. So there's 54 pages in total of that story. And there are, like, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 different artists that do pages for those books, right? And I really learned how to letter by doing those books, right? It gave me a chance to learn how to letter and how to set up a page and how to write to communicate to a comic book person too. And so that was a project I never thought it would ever get to 8 issues. It did. I have a great kind of 8-issue run. I put it together in what I called an omnibus because I printed it like a mini comic, and I printed it on paper that had a kind of sepia tone to it. So it's like an 80s comic. I really wanted to print it on newsprint, but nobody could print on newsprint the way I wanted to. So
Okay.
it's manga size, the omnibus, and I called it season 1, and I made like a small print run of that. Well, you know what happened, Barney? People got a hold of this book and they liked it, and now I'm sold out of that. So, and people have bought Zed for Spirit 3. I didn't put Zed in the latest Kickstarter because I'm trying to move away from it. It's a little more adult. There's guns and shooting and stuff like that.
Hmm,
There's no violence or anything, but I wanted to have a table where any kid could come up and look at any book. And
okay.
Zed's a little on the edge there. But I've sold out of it. I got to do more print of a book that I didn't even think was going to sell. I remember when I did the initial print run for Zed, my wife was like, this is good and everything. I like it. It's cool, but are you sure you need that many? I don't know if anybody's going to like, this is like Spirit and Strange Ranger are so beautiful and so full sized, and like, this is not going to be something that, oh, we're sold out. Okay. I guess I got to make more. So, and there's a couple of cons, like my town con and a couple of other cons I've been to, where people are like, is there new Zed books? Because I got the other one and that was really good. So are you going to do more Zed? I'm like, I don't have any plans for doing any more Zed, but keep asking. You never know. So
So, so Mark, if people want to learn more about you and your work, where's the best place they could go to?
so the best place to go to is
Okay.
plaguedoctorpress.com. That has all my social media on there, as well as my mailing list that you can join. And I've had to add a media tab now, which lists all the the things like this that I do. So I have one more to do for this Kickstarter campaign, one more podcast to do. So that's a great way to get to know what I'm doing and what I'm working on and what I'll be doing in the future. The best thing to do right now is to join Blue Sky and watch my Blue Sky account, because that's the thing I update first.
All right. Well, listen, Mark, you're gonna have to come back on again. I mean, you made friend of the show status, so see.
Well, Barney, it's always fun talking to you, because we are men of a certain age that have similar things. I I haven't got it yet, but I didn't know if you've heard about this. But in the 1980s, DC had an internal document they called the DC Style Guide. Now, all of the art for this internal document was done by a guy named Jose Luis Garcia Lopez.
Okay.
And he's one of my favorite artists. He draws every character in the DC universe at this point in time in this book, with like, here's the Justice League with all of their color guides. Like, this is the Pantone colors for all these characters.
Oh,
this
cool.
is what we use for skin color on all these characters and things like that. That has now been put into a coffee table book by a company called Standards Manual. And I cannot wait to get this book, because this is like, I've heard about this book for 40 years and now I will have it in my hands. And the funny story is, I ran into the guy who runs the Ann Arbor Comic Arts Festival, which is a great show. I had such a blast at that show last year. The guy who runs it created Blue Beetle.
Oh, cool.
He worked for DC in the 80s, and he created Blue Beetle. And I told him, I said, "Have you heard about this?" He goes, "Yeah, I heard about this, but I have my original binder still." I was like, "Oh my gosh, you have the original binder still." So that sort of stuff, I love that kind of 80s stuff that is just so beautiful.
Perfect.
And I love coming on and talking to you, because you're always doing interesting things, man.
Well, I appreciate it. So, Mark, you're gonna, I mean, because you always have something in the hopper. You're gonna have to come back on again and touch in. We'll have to talk again.
Well, over Christmas break is when I do my year planning, and I did a better job this year at year planning. I think I'll do an even better job next year. And I think because I managed this Kickstarter a bit better, that I think I can still move back to doing 2 a year, but maybe space them out more than 100 days between them, because that was a little much.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you, Barney. Thanks for having me. It's always a joy to talk to you.
Oh, I got to change my background to my, where is it? So I'm talking comics right now. I got to change my, where is it? Do virtual background. I got comic books here. There we go. All right, there we go, Mark. I'm all set. I got my comic books behind me now. See.
Have you seen this book, Hobtown Mysteries? This is
no.
It's like Twin Peaks and Hardy Boys.
Oh, that's awesome.
So good. It's so weird and so good at the same time.
All right, let me get the intro in. I'm recording. Yep, I'm recording. All right. You ready, Mark?
Yep.
All right, here we go.